Colony Station Meridian floated in the darkness of space like a small island of light. The station sat on the edge of human territory, far from Earth but close enough to feel safe. 3,000 people lived there, working and raising families in the metal corridors that had become their home. Emma Parker was 8 years old. She had lived on the station for 3 years, ever since her mother, Kate, took a job as a scientist there. Emma liked the station well enough. She had friends at school, a small room with a window that looked out at the stars, and a mother who loved her very much. Kate worked long hours studying aliens. Her job was to figure out how humans could talk to other species without making mistakes. She believed that understanding each other was the key to peace in the galaxy. Emma was proud of her mother's work, even if it meant eating dinner alone sometimes. On the day everything changed, Emma went to school like always. Her teacher, Mr. Cooper, taught them about Earth's oceans. Emma had never seen an ocean in person, only in videos, but she dreamed of visiting one day. After class, she played with her friends in the recreation area, then went home to do her homework. A Zalthari ship arrived at the station that afternoon. The Zalthari were a reptilian species, tall and covered in green scales. They had been coming to human stations for years, usually to trade or talk about science. Station Commander Ben Marshall welcomed them with a formal reception. Kate attended the meeting, along with other scientists and diplomats. The Zalthari commander was named Vorash. He spoke politely about cooperation and shared knowledge. He brought gifts and made promises of friendship. Everyone at the reception smiled and nodded. No one suspected what was really happening. While the adults gathered in the conference room, 3 Zalthari operatives moved through the station's corridors. They wore devices that made them nearly invisible to the security cameras. They had studied the station's layout for weeks, hacking into the computer systems to learn everything they needed to know. They knew where Emma lived. They knew her schedule. They knew her genetic markers made her valuable for their research. They had chosen her carefully from dozens of potential targets. Emma finished her homework around 7 in the evening. She ate a quick dinner, a protein bar, and some fruit, then got ready for bed. Kate had sent her a message saying she would be home late because of the diplomatic reception. Emma was used to this. She brushed her teeth, put on her pajamas, and climbed into bed. She fell asleep reading a book about dolphins. The 3 Zalthari entered her quarters at midnight. The door lock, controlled by the station's computer system, opened at their command. They moved silently into the small living space, then into Emma's bedroom. One of them carried a device that released a sleeping gas. Emma never woke up. She simply stopped breathing normally and fell into a deeper sleep. The Zalthari lifted her small body carefully. They wrapped her in a thermal blanket to maintain her body temperature. They carried her through the corridors, still invisible to most of the security systems. But they could not hide the energy signature of their transport device. When they activated it, preparing to beam Emma to their ship, the station's sensors detected something wrong. An alarm went off in the security office. The officer on duty, a young man named Danny Price, looked at his screen in confusion. An unauthorized transport was happening in the civilian quarters. He hit the emergency button and called Commander Marshall. But by then it was too late. The Zalthari completed the transport in 3 seconds. Emma vanished from her bed and appeared on their ship. The 3 operatives followed immediately after. By the time security officers reached Emma's quarters, they found only an empty bed and an open door. The Zalthari ship began moving away from the station. Commander Marshall ordered them to stop, but they ignored him. He prepared to fire on the ship, but hesitated. If he damaged it, Emma might die. In those few seconds of hesitation, the alien ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Kate returned from the reception an hour later. She was tired but happy, believing the meeting had gone well. She entered her quarters calling Emma's name, expecting her daughter to be asleep. Instead, she found security officers searching the room. Commander Marshall stood in the doorway. his face pale. He had to tell Kate what happened. He had to explain that her daughter was gone, taken by the same aliens they had been entertaining all evening. Kate's legs stopped working. She fell to her knees. She could not breathe, could not think, could not understand how this was possible. Security officers caught her before she hit the floor. Someone gave her water. Someone else tried to explain what they knew, which was almost nothing. They showed her the security footage. The images were blurry because of the Zalthari technology, but she could see figures entering Emma's room. She could see them carrying something small wrapped in a blanket. She could see the flash of the transport beam. Kate screamed. It was a sound that came from somewhere deep inside her, a sound of pure pain. The security officers looked away, unable to watch a mother's heart break in front of them. Commander Marshall sent emergency messages to Earth and to every military installation within range. He sent ships to try to track the Zalthari vessel, but they had no hope of catching up. The aliens had too much of a head start. The Zalthari ship jumped through space, moving farther from human territory with each passing hour. Inside a small medical bay, Emma lay unconscious on a table. Machines scanned her body, recording every detail of her biology. The Zalthari scientists worked quietly, taking samples of her blood and tissue. Vorash stood watching through a window. He felt satisfied with the mission's success. They had acquired an excellent specimen. The genetic data from a young human would be valuable for their archives. He had done this same thing dozens of times with other species. It was always the same. There would be complaints and angry messages, but eventually things would return to normal. He had studied human behavior patterns. Humans were diplomatic. They followed rules. They would be upset, but they would not start a war over one lost child. No species did that. The cost was too high. The risk too great. Vorash had made many calculations. He had considered many possibilities, but he had made one terrible mistake. He had forgotten to calculate what happened when you took something that could never be replaced. He had forgotten that some things matter more than peace, more than rules, more than fear. He had forgotten that humans protect their children above all else. On Colony Station Meridian, Kate sat in her quarters, surrounded by Emma's. The news hit Earth like a bomb. Every screen showed the same image. Emma Parker, 8 years old, smiling in her school picture. Below the photo, the words scrolled endlessly. Abducted by aliens, missing, taken from her bed while she slept. Within 6 hours, the story spread to every human colony in space. People stopped what they were doing to watch. They saw Kate's tearful message, begging for her daughter's return. They saw Emma's drawings from school, pictures of flowers and spaceships and her mother. They saw her birthday video from last year, Emma laughing as she blew out her candles. The reaction was immediate and intense. People who had never met Emma felt their blood boil. Parents held their own children tighter. The message boards filled with millions of comments, all saying the same thing. Bring her home. Make them pay. This cannot stand. The Galactic Council expected a formal complaint. They had procedures for this kind of thing. A species would file paperwork. There would be meetings and negotiations. Eventually, there would be an apology and maybe some compensation. This was how civilization worked. Everyone knew the rules. But humanity did not follow the rules. Admiral Christopher Hayes commanded Earth's Third Fleet. He was a career military officer, 60 years old, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He had fought in 3 small wars against pirates and raiders. He had kept the peace on a dozen frontier stations. He thought he had seen everything. Then he received his orders from the unified Earth government. The orders came directly from the president. They were simple and clear. Find Emma Parker. Bring her home safely. Make sure this never happens again. Admiral Hayes read the orders 3 times. Then he made a call to every fleet commander in human space. Within 12 hours, ships began moving. Warships left their patrol routes. Science vessels turned around mid-mission. Even commercial freighters volunteered to help. their captains offering their faster engines for the search. The response shocked the military planners. They had expected to assemble maybe 300 or 400 ships. Instead, over 1,500 vessels converged on the rally point. Every ship that could fly wanted to be part of this. No one wanted to stay behind while a human child remained in alien hands. Lieutenant Jake Morrison worked in intelligence. His job was to find people and things that did not want to be found. He was good at it. He had tracked pirates across 3 star systems and located hidden bases that other analysts missed. Now he had a new target, the Zalthari ship that took Emma. Jake worked without sleep for 48 hours. He analyzed the energy signature from the transport beam. He hacked into the Zalthari communication networks, breaking their encryption with programs his team had been developing for years. He traced the ship's jump pattern through space. After 2 days, he found them. The Zalthari ship had gone to a research facility on their colony world, Zethkor. Emma was there. Jake confirmed it by intercepting their research reports. They were studying her, taking samples, recording her biology. When Jake reported his findings to Admiral Hayes, the Admiral's face went cold. "How long to get there?" he asked. 5 days at maximum speed, Jake answered. "Then we leave now." The Galactic Council finally noticed what humanity was doing. The ambassador from the Viridian Collective, an insect-like being named Thelnora, arrived on Earth to negotiate. She expected to meet with politicians. Instead, she was taken to the military command center, where Admiral Hayes ran the operation. The command center was unlike anything Thelnora had seen before. Every screen showed Emma's face. Every officer wore a black ribbon, a symbol of mourning. The humans moved with focus and determination that felt dangerous. There was no panic, no shouting, just cold, organized preparation for war. "This can be resolved peacefully," Thelnora told Admiral Hayes. "File a formal complaint with the Council. We will negotiate Emma's return." Admiral Hayes looked at her. "The Zalthari have 48 hours to return Emma Parker safely. If they do not, we will go get her ourselves." "You cannot attack a Galactic Council member species over one citizen," Thelnora protested. "The consequences would be severe. Other species would unite against you." "Then they will learn the same lesson as the Zalthari," Admiral Hayes said quietly. "We protect our children, all of them. If that makes us your enemy, so be it." Thelnora felt fear then, real fear. She had studied human history before coming to Earth. She had read about their wars, their weapons, their capacity for violence. But she had assumed that was all in the past, that humanity had evolved beyond such things. Looking at Admiral Hayes's face, she realized her mistake. "I will convey your message to the Council," she said. "You do that," Admiral Hayes replied. "You have 48 hours. The fleet began moving towards Zalthari space. They did not wait for permission. They did not ask for approval to cross territorial boundaries. They simply advanced, a wall of steel and fire moving through space with single-minded purpose. The Zalthari heard the warnings from their border stations. A massive human fleet was approaching, hundreds of ships, maybe more than 1,000, all heading directly for Zalthari territory, all refusing to communicate except to demand Emma's return. Vorash was summoned before the Zalthari Council of Science Lords. They demanded to know what was happening. Why were the humans reacting this way? Vorash had no good answer. His calculations had been wrong. His data had been incomplete. A junior researcher named Killeth presented new information to the Council. She had been digging deeper into human history. She found records that the others had missed, stories of parents who fought impossible odds to save their children. Battles where humans refused to surrender even when surrounded. A pattern of behavior that showed one clear truth. Humans would sacrifice everything for their young. "We made a mistake," Killeth said. Humans are not like other species. They bond more strongly with their offspring. They see children as sacred. By taking one of their young, we did not just break their laws. We violated something fundamental to their nature. The science lords debated what to do. Some wanted to return Emma immediately. Others argued that giving in would make the Zalthari look weak. The debate went in circles. Hours passed. The human fleet kept coming. Meanwhile, on Zethkor, Emma woke up in a white room. She did not know where she was. The last thing she remembered was falling asleep in her bed. Now she was somewhere else, somewhere strange. The walls were too smooth, the light was too bright, everything smelled wrong. She tried to get up, but her legs felt weak. She called for her mother, but no one answered. Then the door opened and a Zalthari entered. Emma had seen pictures of Zalthari before, but seeing one in person was different. The creature was tall, covered in scales, with eyes that looked at her like she was a bug under a microscope. Emma screamed. The Zalthari stepped back, surprised by the noise. A moment later, gas filled the room and Emma fell asleep again. When she woke the next time, she was strapped to a table. Machines surrounded her, scanning her body with lights and sounds she did not understand. She cried. She called for her mother. She begged to go home. But no one listened. The Zalthari scientists continued their work, taking notes, collecting samples. To them, she was just data, just information to be recorded and stored. One of the medical technicians, a young Zalthari named Silva, watched Emma cry. Silva had joined the research program because she loved learning. But she had never thought about where the specimens came from. She had never considered that they might have families waiting for them. Looking at Emma's tears, Silva felt something she had never felt before. Guilt. The human fleet reached the edge of Zalthari space. Admiral Hayes sent one final message. Return Emma Parker unharmed within 12 hours. This is your last warning. No response came. The Zalthari Council was still debating. They could not decide. Some wanted peace, others wanted to show strength. While they argued, the deadline passed. Admiral Hayes gave the order. All ships, advance. Objective is Zethkor. Anyone who gets in our way is an enemy. Rules of engagement are clear. We are going to get Emma Parker and bring her home. Nothing will stop us. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 1,500 ships appeared in Zalthari space like ghosts materializing from darkness. Their weapons were armed, their shields were up, every sensor was active, searching for targets. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display. The Zalthari defense fleet waited ahead, 70 ships arranged in a standard defensive pattern. It looked impressive, but Hayes had seen the analysis. The Zalthari had superior individual ships, but they had never fought a coordinated battle like this. They had no experience with total war. All squadrons, execute Plan Alpha, Hayes ordered. His voice was calm, almost gentle, but everyone on the bridge knew what those words meant. They meant the talking was over. The time for mercy had passed. The human fleet split into 3 groups. Captain Kyle Peterson took his squadron toward the jump points. His orders were clear. Lock them down. No Zalthari ship leaves, no reinforcements arrive. 30 ships peeled off and accelerated away. The second group moved to surround the Zalthari fleet. Over 500 ships spread out in a massive sphere, creating a cage of steel and fire. The Zalthari watched this happen and finally understood. This was not a skirmish. This was an execution. The Zalthari commander, a veteran named Telkor, sent a desperate message. We are willing to negotiate. There is no need for violence. We can resolve this peacefully. Admiral Hayes replied. You had your chance for peace. You had 48 hours. You chose to keep her. Now you pay the price. Telkor gave the order to fire. The Zalthari ships opened up with their plasma cannons and energy beams. The weapons were powerful, designed to punch through armor and shields. Several human ships took damage. 2 were destroyed, their crews dead before they could escape. But the humans did not slow down. They did not hesitate. For every shot the Zalthari fired, the humans fired 10. Human missiles swarmed through space, overwhelming the alien point defenses. Human railguns fired solid metal slugs at incredible speeds, punching holes through Zalthari hulls. Lieutenant Jake Morrison sat in a small room on the flagship, surrounded by computer screens. His job during the battle was electronic warfare. He had been studying Zalthari computer systems for days, learning their weaknesses. Now he put that knowledge to use. His fingers flew across the keyboard. Code scrolled down his screens. He sent attack programs into the Zalthari network, viruses designed to spread and disrupt. Within minutes, the enemy ships began having problems. Their communications jammed. Their targeting systems gave false readings. Their shields flickered and failed. "Good work, Jake," his supervisor said. "Keep it up." Jake did not answer. He was already launching the next attack. The Zalthari were good at science, but they were not good at cyber warfare. Humans had spent decades fighting hackers and building defenses. They knew every trick. They had tools the Zalthari had never imagined. In space, the battle turned into a massacre. The Zalthari ships tried to retreat, but they found their jump drives would not work. Human hackers had disabled them remotely. The alien crews panicked. Some tried to surrender. Others fought to the end. Captain Kyle Peterson reached the jump points and deployed mines. Any ship that tried to jump in or out would be destroyed. He sent drones to patrol the area. Nothing was getting through. The Zalthari were trapped. "Jump point secured," Kyle reported to Admiral Hayes. "No one is leaving." "Good," Hayes replied. "Now comes the hard part." The main human fleet pushed forward toward the planet Zethkor. The few Zalthari ships that still fought tried to block their path. But there were too many humans. For every ship the Zalthari destroyed, 10 more came forward. The defense fleet broke apart, scattered, surrendered. Telkor sat on his bridge and watched his fleet die. He had fought for 30 years. He had never been defeated. But he had never fought an enemy like this. An enemy that did not care about losses. An enemy that would not stop, would not negotiate, would not accept anything less than total victory. "All ships, cease fire," Telkor ordered. "We surrender." The human fleet stopped shooting, but they did not lower their weapons. They surrounded the remaining Zalthari ships and waited. "Surrender accepted," Admiral Hayes said. "Power down your weapons. Prepare to be boarded. Anyone who resists will be destroyed." On the planet below, the Zalthari government watched the battle in horror. They had sent their best ships to stop the humans. It had not mattered. The defense fleet was gone. Now human ships filled the orbit above their capital city. The Science Lords finally made a decision. They would return Emma Parker. They would give the humans anything they wanted. But they needed time to arrange the transfer. Time to evacuate the research facility. Time to save face. Admiral Hayes did not give them time. He sent a message directly to the planetary government. "You have 1 hour to evacuate the research facility where Emma Parker is being held. After 1 hour, we are sending troops down. Anyone still in that building will be considered hostile." The Science Lords protested. 1 hour was not enough. They needed more time. They needed guarantees of safety. They needed assurances that the humans would not attack the civilian population. Hayes cut off their transmission. He had no more words for them. He had said everything that needed to be said. Now, it was time for action. Major Sophie Chen commanded 3 companies of Earth Marines. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were the best of the best, trained for the most difficult operations. They had fought pirates in zero gravity and terrorists in underground tunnels. But even they had never been part of something like this. Sophie stood in the dropship bay looking at her troops. 200 Marines in full combat armor, weapons loaded, faces determined. She knew some of them would not come back. That was the reality of combat. But she also knew that every single one of them would gladly die to save Emma Parker. "Listen up," Sophie said. "Our objective is simple. Get in, get the girl, get out. The Zalthari have been told to evacuate. Anyone still in that facility chose to be there. Do not hesitate. Do not take chances. We are bringing Emma home. Nothing else matters." The Marines shouted their agreement. They loaded into the dropships. The massive doors opened, showing the planet below. The ships launched, diving toward the surface like missiles. Inside the research facility, panic spread. The scientists packed their equipment. Guards prepared to evacuate. But the process was slow. There was too much valuable research to leave behind. Too many specimens to relocate. The director kept delaying, believing the humans were bluffing. Silva knew better. She had been watching the human news broadcasts. She had seen Kate Parker's face, heard her pleas. She had read about human history, about what they did when their children were threatened. The humans were not bluffing. They were coming, and they would kill everyone in the facility to get Emma back. Silva made a decision. She went to Emma's cell and opened the door. The little human girl sat on the floor, drawing on a digital pad. She looked up at Silva with red eyes. She had been crying again. "Come with me," Silva said in her own language. Emma did not understand the words, but she understood the gesture. The alien was trying to help. Emma took Silva's hand. Together they ran through the corridors. Alarms were blaring now. Other Zalthari pushed past them, trying to escape. No one stopped to help. No one cared about the specimen anymore. They only wanted to survive. The dropships hit the ground hard. Marines poured out, weapons ready. They met minimal resistance. The security guards saw the humans coming and dropped their weapons. They knew fighting was useless. The Marines were too many, too well trained, too angry. Sergeant Alex Turner led his squad through the main entrance. They had floor plans of the facility, provided by Jake's hacking. They knew where Emma's cell was located. They moved fast, breaching doors with explosives, clearing rooms with practiced efficiency. "Contact left," one Marine shouted. Alex turned and saw 2 Zalthari guards raising weapons. He fired first. Both aliens went down. The squad kept moving. They reached Emma's cell 3 minutes after entry. The door was open. The room was empty. Alex felt his heart sink. Where was she? Had they moved her? Killed her? Then he heard a sound. A child crying. The sound came from deeper in the facility. Alex followed it, his squad behind him. They turned a corner and saw them. A Zalthari carrying a small human girl. Both were trying to find an exit. "Contact," Alex said, raising his weapon. His finger tightened on the trigger, but before he could fire, Emma screamed. "No, she helped me." Alex hesitated. The alien set Emma down gently and raised her H. The dropship climbed through the atmosphere, shaking as it pushed against gravity and wind. Inside, Emma sat wrapped in the thermal blanket, held carefully by Marine Lisa Cole. The other Marines watched the little girl with expressions that mixed relief and anger. They had found her. She was safe. But seeing her thin face and the marks on her arms made their blood boil. Sergeant Alex Turner sat across from Emma, his helmet off now. He tried to smile at her to show her she was safe. But it was hard to smile when he wanted to go back down and tear the research facility apart with his bare hands. "You did good, kid," Alex said. "You're brave." Emma looked at him with eyes that seemed older than 8 years old. "Are you really taking me to my mom?" "Yes. She's waiting for you on the big ship in space. We'll be there in a few minutes." Emma nodded. She did not say anything else. She just held on to Lisa's armor and watched the Marines around her. These were the people who came for her. These were the people who crossed the galaxy because she mattered. On the flagship, Kate Parker stood in the landing bay. She had not slept in days. She had barely eaten. All she could do was wait and hope and pray to anyone who would listen. When the message came through that Emma was safe, that she was on her way up, Kate's legs almost gave out. Admiral Hayes stood beside her. He had offered to let her wait in a more comfortable location, but Kate refused to move. She wanted to be the first thing Emma saw when the ship landed. "Almost here," Hayes said quietly. He felt something he rarely felt. Satisfaction. The mission had cost lives, 2 ships destroyed, 14 sailors dead, but they had saved Emma. In Hayes's mind, that made it worth it. The dropship entered the landing bay. The massive doors closed behind it. Air filled the bay. The ship settled onto its landing platform. Before the engines even stopped, the side door opened. Emma appeared in the doorway, still wrapped in the blanket. Lisa Cole helped her down the ramp. Emma looked around the huge landing bay at all the ships and equipment and people in uniform. Then she saw her mother. "Mom!" Kate ran. She crossed the distance in seconds and dropped to her knees, grabbing Emma and pulling her close. Emma wrapped her arms around her mother's neck and held on like she would never let go. Both of them were crying, making sounds that were not quite words, just pure emotion. The Marines stood at attention, watching. Some of them had tears in their eyes, too. This was why they fought. This was why they put their lives at risk. For moments like this. For families reunited. For children saved. Admiral Hayes turned away to give them privacy. He had work to do. The extraction was complete, but the operation was not over. The Zalthari government needed to understand that this was not the end. This was just the beginning. He walked to the bridge and opened a communication channel to the entire Zalthari system. "This is Admiral Christopher Hayes of the Earth Defense Forces. Emma Parker is now in our custody. She is safe, but we are not done here." On the planet below, the Science Lords gathered around their communication screen. They had hoped that returning Emma would end this. They had hoped the humans would take their child and leave. Now they realized their mistake. The individuals responsible for Emma Parker's abduction will be turned over to human custody for trial, Hayes continued. That includes your Commander Vorash and the 3 operatives who entered her quarters. You will also provide us with complete records of any other species you have abducted. You will pay reparations to Emma's family, and you will sign a treaty guaranteeing this will never happen again. The Science Lords looked at each other. These demands were outrageous, turning over their own people to alien justice, opening their records, signing away their sovereignty. "And if we refuse?" one of the Science Lords asked. Hayes's face appeared on their screen. His expression was cold. "Then we will occupy your planet until you comply. Your fleet is destroyed. Your defenses are gone. You have 2 choices. Accept our terms or face the consequences." The Science Lords knew they had lost. The humans had all the power. The humans had all the weapons. And the humans had proven they would use them. There was no choice. Not really. "We accept your terms," the Science Lord finally said. "Good," Hayes replied. "You have 24 hours to deliver the prisoners. Admiral Hayes out." The channel closed. Hayes sat back in his command chair. Around him, the bridge crew worked quietly. They were monitoring the Zalthari fleet, tracking every ship, watching for any sign of treachery. But Hayes knew there would be none. The Zalthari were beaten. In the medical bay, doctors examined Emma carefully. They checked her for injuries, for diseases, for any sign of permanent harm. Emma sat on the examination table, holding her mother's hand the entire time. Kate would not leave. She would not let Emma out of her sight ever again. "She's malnourished," the doctor said, "and she has some minor injuries from the medical equipment they used. But overall, she's in good condition. She's strong. She'll recover." Kate felt relief wash over her. Emma would be okay. physically at least. The emotional scars would take longer to heal, but they would face that together. Emma looked at her mother. "Mom, there was an alien who helped me. She let me out of the cell. She tried to take me somewhere safe." Kate had heard about this from Major Chen's report. The Zalthari technician named Silva. "She's here on the ship," Kate said. "She's being held in custody." "Is she in trouble?" "I don't know yet," Kate said honestly. "But I'll make sure people know she helped you." Emma nodded. She was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Can we go home?" "Yes, baby. We're going home." The human fleet began withdrawing from Zethkor. They had accomplished their mission. Emma was safe. The Zalthari were complying with the terms. There was no reason to stay, but Admiral Hayes had one more thing to do. He recorded a message and broadcast it on all frequencies to every species in the galaxy. He wanted everyone to hear this, everyone to understand. "This is Admiral Christopher Hayes of the Unified Earth Forces. You have all seen what happened here. You know why we came. An alien species abducted a human child from her bed. They took her from her mother. They held her against her will." Hayes paused, letting the words sink in. "We crossed the galaxy to get her back. We fought through their defenses. We destroyed their fleet. We will put their leaders on trial. And we did this for one child, one little girl named Emma Parker." The message continued. "Let this be a message to every species listening. Humanity protects its own. We protect our children above all else. Touch one of ours, take one of ours, hurt one of ours, and we will find you. We will cross any distance. We will pay any price. We will fight any war. Nothing will stop us from bringing our people home." Hayes looked directly into the camera. "We are not a warlike species. We seek peace. We want friendship with our neighbors in the galaxy. But we have lines that cannot be crossed. Our children are that line. Remember this. Remember what happened here. Remember that humanity will always, always come for its children." The message went out across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched it. Some were shocked. Some were angry. Some were afraid. But all of them understood. Humanity was not like other species. Humanity was different. On the planet Zethkor, Vorash sat in a cell. He had been arrested by his own government and would soon be handed over to the humans. He still could not believe what had happened. One child, one small specimen. And it had brought his entire civilization to its knees. He had done the calculations. He had studied the data. But he had missed something crucial. He had not understood that some things could not be calculated. Love, devotion, the bond between parent and child. These were not numbers on a screen. They were forces that could move worlds. The fleet arrived at Earth 3 weeks after leaving Zalthari space. The journey had been long but peaceful. Emma spent most of the time recovering, eating proper food, sleeping in a real bed with her mother beside her. The doctors said she was healing well. Her body was getting stronger. But everyone knew the real healing would take much longer. Earth's orbital stations were lit up like festival days when the fleet approached. Millions of people gathered to watch the ships come home. The news channels broadcast every moment. Emma Parker was coming home. The child the entire species had gone to war for was finally safe. Kate stood with Emma on the observation deck of the flagship. Through the window, they could see Earth below, blue and green and beautiful. Emma had been born on Earth but did not remember it well. She had lived most of her life on stations and colonies. Now she was seeing her home world again. "It's pretty," Emma said quietly. Kate squeezed her daughter's hand. "Yes, it is. And you're going to love it there. We'll get a house with a yard, maybe get a dog. Would you like that?" Emma nodded. She smiled for the first time in weeks. A real smile that reached her eyes. Admiral Hayes came to say goodbye before they landed. He had become fond of Emma during the journey. She was a brave kid. She had been through terrible things but never stopped fighting. That was very human of her. "Take care of yourself, Emma," Hayes said. He shook her hand formally like she was an adult. Emma appreciated that. "If you ever need anything, you let me know." "Thank you for saving me," Emma said. "Thank you for coming." Hayes felt something in his chest, an emotion he rarely showed. "We'll always come. That's what we do. We protect our own." The shuttle landed at the main spaceport in North America. Security was tight. Thousands of people wanted to see Emma, to welcome her home. The government had to set up barriers to keep the crowds back. Everyone wanted to catch a glimpse of the little girl who had changed everything. Kate and Emma walked down the shuttle ramp together. Camera drones flew overhead, broadcasting the moment to the world. Emma looked small and thin in her new clothes, but she walked with her head up. She was home. She was safe. She was alive. The crowd erupted in cheers. People were crying. Signs waved in the air. "Welcome home, Emma." "We love you, Emma." Humanity never leaves anyone behind. Kate led Emma through the spaceport to a waiting car. Government officials wanted to talk, wanted to schedule interviews and appearances. Kate said no to all of it. Emma needed time. She needed peace. She needed to be a normal kid again. They went to a safe house in the countryside, away from the media and the crowds. It was a simple place with 3 bedrooms and a garden. Emma got her own room with a big window that looked out at trees and grass. Real grass, not the artificial kind on space stations. While Emma adjusted to life on Earth, the galaxy was adjusting too. The Zalthari incident had sent shockwaves through every species. The Galactic Council held emergency sessions. Ambassador Thelnora presented a report on what had happened. "We underestimated humanity," she told the assembled delegates. "We treated them like any other species. We assumed they would follow our rules, our procedures. We were wrong." She played recordings from the battle. The council members watched human ships destroy the Zalthari fleet. They watched Marines storm the research facility. They watched Admiral Hayes deliver his ultimatum. Many of the delegates looked uncomfortable. Some looked frightened. "Humans are apex predators," Thelnora continued. "They evolved on a dangerous planet by being stronger, smarter, and more determined than anything else. And they bring that same intensity to how they protect their young. We must understand this. We must respect this." A delegate from the Krati Empire stood up. He was a large creature with 4 arms and thick armor plating. His species was known for their military might. "Are we supposed to fear humanity now? To bow to their demands?" Thelnora looked at him calmly. "We are supposed to not steal their children. That seems like a reasonable request." The council debated for days. Finally, they agreed on a new law. The abduction of sentient children from any species would be considered a crime against civilization itself. Any species caught doing this would face collective punishment from the entire council. The law passed unanimously. Privately, many delegates admitted they voted for it because they were afraid of what humanity would do if it happened again. Fear was not the best reason to pass a law, but it was an effective one. On Earth, the trial of Vorash and his accomplices began. It was held in The Hague, broadcast across human space. People watched as the Zalthari stood before human judges. They watched as evidence was presented, medical records showing what had been done to Emma. Video footage of her crying in her cell. Testimony from Kate describing the moment she discovered her daughter was gone. Vorash had no defense. He admitted everything. He explained that the Zalthari had been taking specimens from other species for decades. It was standard practice. No one had ever fought back before. "Why did you think you could take a human child?" the prosecutor asked. "We did not think humans were different," Vorash answered. "We were wrong." The trial lasted 3 weeks. The verdict was guilty on all counts. Vorash was sentenced to life in prison. The 3 operatives received 20 years each. The sentences were announced across the galaxy. Let everyone know. Touch human children. This is what happens. But the trial revealed something else. The records the Zalthari had provided showed dozens of other species who had lost their people. The council began returning those specimens, those people who had been taken. Some had been gone for years. Their families had given up hope. Now they were coming home. Many of those species sent messages to Earth. Thank you, they said. We could not fight for our people, but you fought for yours, and in doing so, you saved ours too. 6 months after her rescue, Emma started therapy. A kind doctor helped her talk about what happened. The nightmares were getting better. She could sleep through the night now. She still did not like enclosed spaces or strange aliens. But she was healing. Kate had left her job on Colony Station Meridian. She could not go back there. Too many memories. Instead, she took a position at a university on Earth. She studied peaceful first contact protocols just like before, but now she included a new section in her research. How to make sure this never happened again. Emma went to school with other kids her age. At first, everyone treated her like she was special. The girl who was saved. The girl humanity went to war for. Emma hated it. She just wanted to be normal. But eventually, people stopped staring. Life went on. Emma made friends who did not care about what happened. She joined a soccer team. She got that dog her mother had promised, a golden retriever named Buddy. She was just a kid again. One day, Emma asked to visit Silva. The Zalthari technician had been granted asylum on Earth. She was helping human scientists understand Zalthari technology. She lived in a special facility designed for non-human residents. Kate was not sure it was a good idea. Seeing a Zalthari again might bring back bad memories, but Emma insisted. She wanted to say thank you. They met in a garden designed to feel comfortable for different species. Silva was nervous. She had not seen Emma since the rescue. She did not know if the human child would remember her or if she would be angry. Emma walked up to Silva and looked at her. The alien was still large and covered in scales, but Emma was not scared. She remembered this was the one who helped. "Thank you for letting me out," Emma said simply. "You saved me." Silva knelt down to be at Emma's level. "I am sorry for what my people did. I am sorry you were hurt." "It wasn't your fault," Emma said. "You were the only one who was nice to me." They talked for a while. Silva told Emma about her work, how she was trying to make sure this never happened to anyone else. Emma told Silva about school and her dog. It was a strange friendship, a human child and an alien scientist. But it worked. When Kate and Emma left, Silva stood in the garden and cried. Her people had done terrible things, but maybe, just maybe, there was hope for redemption. Admiral Hayes retired from military service 1 year after the rescue. His final speech was given at the Earth Defense Force Academy to a room full of young officers who wanted to follow in his footsteps. "You have all heard about what we did," Hayes told them. "How we went across the galaxy to save one child. Some people say we took too big a risk. Some say we should have negotiated. Some say one life is not worth a war." He paused and looked around the room. "Those people are wrong. One life is worth everything. Emma Parker mattered. Every human matters. That is what we stand for. That is what the uniform means." Hayes continued. "I want to be clear about something. We are not a warlike species. We do not seek conflict. We want peace with our neighbors. But peace does not mean weakness. Peace does not mean accepting injustice. Peace means being strong enough to defend what matters." The young officers listened carefully. These words would shape how humanity interacted with the galaxy for generations. "We made a promise that day," Hayes said. "We promised that humanity protects its own. We will go to any length. We will pay any price. We will fight any battle. No human will be left behind. No human will be forgotten. That is our promise. That is our bond with each other." He looked at the faces before him, young men and women ready to serve. "You are the guardians of that promise. You are the ones who will enforce it. Never forget why we do this. Never forget who we protect. And never ever let anyone believe we will abandon our own." The speech was broadcast across human space. It became required viewing at every military academy. Years later, people would still quote it. These were the words that defined humanity's place in the galaxy. 5 years after the incident, Emma turned 13. She was in middle school now, playing soccer and arguing with her mother about homework. She was a normal teenager. The nightmares had stopped. The fear had faded. She was just Emma. But on the anniversary of her rescue, she always took time to remember. She thought about the Marines who came for her, about Admiral Hayes who ordered the fleet to move, about Silva who let her out of the cell, about her mother who never gave up hope. And she thought about all the people she never met, the sailors who died in the battle, the families who waited for ships to come home, the millions of humans who saw her face and said, "We will get her back." Emma understood now what she represented. She was not special because of anything she did. She was special because of what humanity did for her. She was proof that humans meant what they said. They protect their children. Always. The galaxy had learned that lesson. In the years that followed, no human was ever abducted again. No human ship was attacked without provocation. No human colony was threatened, because everyone knew what would happen if they crossed that line. Humanity had drawn a boundary in the stars. They had shown the cost of crossing it. And the galaxy respected that boundary. Kate stood in her office one evening, looking at a photo of Emma from her rescue day. Her daughter had been so small, so scared. Now she was growing up strong and confident. Kate had her little girl back. That was all that mattered. On her desk was a letter from Admiral Hayes. He wrote to them every year on the anniversary. The letter was simple. "Still here, still watching, still protecting our own." Kate smiled and put the letter with the others. Then she went downstairs, where Emma was watching a movie with friends. Normal life. The best gift anyone could ask for. In orbit above Earth, the fleet remained vigilant. New ships were built, new officers trained. The military stayed ready. Not because they wanted war, but because they wanted to make sure they never needed to fight that war again. The message had been sent. The message had been received. Humanity protects its children. Touch them and face the consequences. It was a simple message, clear and direct, and the galaxy never forgot it. Vorash had learned his lesson too late. He would spend the rest of his life in a human prison. A warning to others: touch their children and pay the price. 24 hours later, Vorash and the 3 operatives were transferred to human custody. They were placed in a prison ship and taken away. The Zalthari government also delivered their records. Thousands of files documenting abductions over decades. Species that had lost their people and never knew what happened. Now they would know. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. They were going home. Emma was safe. The mission was complete. On the flagship, Emma slept in a real bed for the first time in days. Kate sat beside her, watching her daughter breathe. Admiral Hayes had offered them his own quarters for the journey home. It was the least he could do. Kate thought about everything that had happened. 5 days ago, she had been living a normal life. Now she had seen humanity go to war for her daughter. She had seen thousands of ships, millions of people, all united for one purpose: to bring Emma home. She had always believed in humanity's goodness, but now she had seen humanity's strength, and she knew that Emma would grow up in a galaxy that understood. Humans protect their children, always, ands. She was surrendering. She had saved Emma instead of running away herself. Alex lowered his weapon. "Secure the alien," he told his squad. "Someone get the girl." One of the Marines, a woman named Lisa Cole, picked up Emma. She wrapped the child in a thermal blanket. Emma was thin, too thin. She had marks on her arms from the medical equipment, but she was alive. She was safe. "Where's my mom?" Emma asked. Her voice was small and scared. "She's waiting for you," Lisa said. "We're taking you home, sweetie. You're safe now." Emma started crying again, but these were different tears. These were tears of relief. The Marines withdrew from the facility, carrying Emma with them. Silva was taken into custody, her hands bound, but not treated roughly. Major Sophie Chen made a note in her report. The alien technician had protected Emma. That would be remembered. The drop ships lifted off, carrying Emma back to the fleet. The mission was complete. Emma Parker was free, but Admiral Hayes was not done, not even close. The fleet moved forward. The Zalthari scrambled to respond. They assembled their defense fleet, 70 ships with advanced weapons and shields. They believed their technology would give them the advantage. They had never fought humans before. They did not know what they were facing. Captain Kyle Peterson commanded the Earth defense ship Valiant. He led a squadron of 30 ships. Their job was to secure the jump points and prevent Zalthari reinforcements from arriving. Kyle had a daughter Emma's age back on Earth. He volunteered for this mission the moment he heard what happened. "All ships," Kyle said over the communication channel. "Remember why we're here. Remember who we're fighting for. Let's bring Emma home." The battle was about to begin. Things. Her daughter's drawings covered the walls. Her toys lay scattered on the floor. Her books sat on the shelf, waiting to be read. Kate held Emma's favorite stuffed animal and cried until she had no tears left. Then she stopped crying. She stood up. She walked to the communication center and demanded to speak to someone on Earth. She wanted to talk to the government, the military, anyone who would listen. "My daughter is out there," she said, her voice steady now, hard as steel. "I want her back. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it costs. Find her and bring her home." The message went out across human space. Within hours, billions of people saw Emma's picture. They saw Kate's face, frozen in desperate determination. They heard her plea. And something began to happen. Something the Zalthari had not predicted. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Humanity began to wake up.